work on a design that's nothing like anything I've made before. And I thought, well, it may not be anything anybody's ever made before. I don't know. But I decided to turn on the camera. We'll see how it goes. All of that. Before I get started on it, I wanted to go ahead and do this kind of introduction about what it is I'm starting with. And then the rest of this will probably be a voiceover, because I found that the jewelry videos that I do and try to talk through tend to take forever. So instead, I'll try to do a voiceover. I have the cats in here messing with stuff. The dog's been super barky today. So if some of that happens while I'm explaining this, I do apologize. That's life. That's, you know, I'm a real person here. All right, so let me start by saying that in the months of December, January, and part of February, I was laid up in bed with a broken ankle. And during that time, I had a tray of beady things that I could work through, but I didn't have a lot of access to everything unless I sent my husband repeatedly to get things. So instead, I took those things that I had and basically brainstormed ideas of what I would do with them once I was able to get up and get around. So I did that. One of the things I had, well, actually two of the things, I had two of these keys. These are just reproduction flat back keys. One of my very best friends bought a bunch of these reproduction keys for me from a shop on Magazine Street in New Orleans. Thank you, Heather. And I have been working with them on and off forever. And so I created this with that key. One of the keys. This is my extra one. I have a different idea for this one that was also brainstormed, but this is basically, I glued, well, first I took a piece of tin. Y'all, I love working with old cookie tins, or, you know, they're not always cookie tins, but that's kind of what you know what I mean when I say cookie tin, but like tin containers. And I like to take the bottoms of them for things like this because they're plain and blank and I'm not taking away some of the pretty colors and stuff. But I cut a shape that would fit this piece of, this key. I colored it black. I bent both the key and the tin using a, what is this thing? It's a bracelet bending tool. I can't think of what it's called. So it's this bracelet bending pliers, and bent both of those, glued them together with some E6000. Sorry, the husband just walked in the house, flying the door open. Told you, life. So I used that tool. I bent everything, glued it together. I painted the tin with some vintage patina, and then sealed it with the vintage glaze. Sorry. And then I sat and thought about this forever and ever and ever about what I wanted to do. So obviously I bent it with the bracelet thing, so it's going to be a focal for a bracelet. But exactly what did I want to do? I kept thinking it needed multiple strands to kind of bulk up this, since this felt kind of bulky. So I've gathered a couple things. I happen to have this, if y'all can see this strand of chain that I created while I was laid up. I tend to do what's called my bead box. I'll put a link below to my blog where I shared the latest reveal, and this was in it. When I made it, I realized it was too dainty and delicate to be on its own and would need to be combined with something. So yesterday I happened to throw it onto my bead mat next to this, just kind of like, what am I going to do with these things? And I realized they would go very nicely together. So this idea began to be born. So let me tell you what else I've got here, and I'm going to get started on it. Again, I'm sorry this is such a long introduction. So I've got some, these are oval jump rings. It's a set I got on Amazon. I think they're from Panda Hall. I'll put a link below to that. I've got some black glass pearls. I've got, these are brass colored seed beads. I think they're from Cousin Corporation. I've got some, well, there's some beading wire that was just extra that I found in my stash. Some crimp covers, a lobster clasp, and some brass colored chain. So those are the things I've also got over here my big container. This is all of my brass findings. So if I need more brass findings, I have them. So that is kind of where I'm starting with. The idea basically for me is to create a wrapped bracelet. I want the chain to begin here. I'm going to put some jump rings here, bring the chain up through this larger hole. So can you see I've got a smaller hole that's I think a 1.8 millimeter. Let me see. Yes, 1.8 millimeter. And this one I used my power punch, and it was, I don't remember, 4 point something millimeters. And but I did that one because all of these things will fit through it. So I'm going to loop this through and go around and create a wrapped bracelet. Now, like I said, some of this will be in a voiceover because, yeah, and will be sped up. So I'm going to get to this. I appreciate your patience and this long introduction. And let me know if you have any questions below. If I forget to mention that, make sure to like and subscribe, all of those things. All right, let's do this.
All right, so sorry for that super long introduction, but I kind of wanted to talk about where I was coming from. The first thing I did was grab some of the larger oval jump rings, and I'm using some chain nose pliers and some bent nose pliers to connect them to the smaller hole on that bracelet bar that I created. And I think I'm just going to put like 5 of them on here, and this will help act kind of as a bracelet extender chain because the lobster clasp that we're going to put on the other end will connect to any of these links, or jump rings. So that gives us about an inch or so, just over an inch to kind of leeway to work with on that. And now I'm trying to find the end of my chain. I did, what was I doing there? And y'all, I didn't measure this. I just decided that this looks like enough chain. I want to make sure it goes from the jump rings there. It's a split chain. So I opened that up and put that onto those jump rings and then inserted it through that larger hole on the other end of that bracelet bar. And from here, I'm going to make another length of beading, and this is on that beading wire. So the first thing I'm going to do is I put a crimp bead on there and inserted the end of my beading wire through the end of my chain, and then looped that over and inserted it back into the crimp bead. And now I am pressing that crimp bead down. I'm crimping it. So once that's there, I'm going to trim the excess of the beading wire. And then I'm gonna put a crimp cover. I don't know if I mentioned that in my list of ingredients that I was using here, but yeah, I've got a crimp cover there, so it kind of looks just like a bead on one end. And I'm using my crimping pliers to put it. Now, crimp beads kind of look like a little Pac-Man, and they go over, not crimp covers look like a little Pac-Man, and they go over your crimp bead, and then you just close it over it. So you like Pac-Man walk up over the top of it and then close it. And so now I'm pulling out some of these black glass pearls, and I've got those brass colored glass seed beads there, and I'm going to alternate them. So I'm starting with the pearl because I've already got that antique to brass crimp cover down at one end, and so I'm just going to alternate pearl, seed bead, pearl, seed bead, pearl, seed bead. I'm going to let y'all watch a little bit of this, but we're going to skip ahead here in a minute because y'all don't need to see me. So you're going to see right about here. There we go. I have put on as many as I think I need, and I'm going to add another crimp bead and then put my beading wire through that crimp bead and create a loop. Now I'm trying to keep the beading wire so it doesn't cross over itself. That makes the crimp bead a little less effective at holding that all together. So I've got it, I'm holding it. I'm going to use my crimp pliers to bend that crimp bead and then crimp it down, and then I trim the excess. I do have a tutorial on using crimp beads. I don't know if it's up to date, but I'll try to put a link to it if I'm comfortable with y'all seeing how crimp beads are used. All right, and then I'm putting that crimp cover over that crimp bead, just like that. Again, using my crimping pliers. You could probably use chain nose pliers just as well, but I like the curve that's in the teeth of the crimping pliers. So I'm going to finish this off with that length of beaded chain that I had created. First, I decided to get a round, really small, like 4 millimeter round jump ring, just a regular jump ring. And I think, yeah, I got 2 of them because on the other end, I'm going to use it for my lobster clasp. So I'm opening that jump ring and inserting it into the loop beading wire, and then on the loop of that handmade chain, and I'm going to close it. And then at the other end, I'm going to put the other jump ring that I pulled out, and again, twist it open, put it onto the chain, and then add my lobster clasp. Now again, the way this works is that length of metal chain goes up through and in. So my hand is going to go through there, and then I'm going to this all the way around, and I attach the clasp to those oval jump rings that are at the other end. I'm taking off my hair tie so you can kind of see how that wraps, and that's not the best look of it, but because it is wrapped like that, it can be pulled a little bit tighter or looser, and then it comes off. So I want to show y'all that there is that chain. That jump ring won't go through that large loop, so it just pulls up through, and then everything wraps around just like that. I thought it was a pretty neat design. I'm really happy with it. If y'all have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. And thank y'all so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. Come back again later. Bye.